all new for 2022, we have the Omega. Same name. This is the Mark II edition. It's the iteration. Will Asher took the Omega to the limit for the last 3 years. Wins, records, things of that nature. Everything he learned from those years of skiing on the Pro Tour put into the new Omega shape. At HO, we think about skis in 3 ways. You have the width profile, you have the rocker line, and you have the cross section if you were able to slice this ski right through here. So this is a new width profile. It has a narrower pin tail on the back. It has a little bit more surface area under the back foot. And the width profile in the forebody is the same as the old. So what we've done, and by narrowing the tail, now the ski's able to roll on edge a little bit easier, and it changes the attitude of the ski so it rides a little bit more tip high, tail down, which really lets Will and the other skiers push into the nose, be forward, be in that safe spot. By adding a little surface area into the back foot, you're matching the center of pressure underneath the ski with your center of mass, and you're getting that good drive into the first wake, which keeps you ahead of the slalom course. So pretty simple design philosophy. We didn't totally redo the shape. We just fine-tuned the tail and the width under the back foot. And we kept that front width profile the same because it's proven and it works. Rocker line is very similar. The front half of the ski has the same rocker line as the original Omega. Where the Mark II differs is it has higher concentration of rocker under the back foot, and it has a flatter tail. The overall tail height's a little bit higher. We kind of redistributed the rocker line. Now the ski will rotate more naturally from under the back foot, so it has a really awesome onside turn, but you can still use the flatter forebody nose of the Omega to have that stable platform on the offside. So I think it does both sides really well. That's the trick to ski design, balancing offside and onside, and then this new rocker line really accommodates that. When you do have more rocker under the back foot, you got to balance it out with having a flat section of the tail. So we now have a secondary flat spot. That flat spot is kind of like a wheelie bar. So when you get on the back, you hit the pressure, it pushes you down, it gives you good drive into the wake. It's a stopper to rocking back and forth. So kind of redesigned rocker in the back. We kept the rocker in the front, very similar to what we did on the width profile. You can see the refinement in this design. From a cross-section standpoint, to be honest, we did a lot of prototype molds. We tried bigger bevels, different things like that, and in the end, we really liked the original design. So this has the same low volume concave. So if you look, you poured water in the bottom of the ski and you measured how much fit in the bottom. This doesn't fit as much water. What that doesn't cup a ton of water, has a little bit more slip in the turns, a little bit looser feel. The tail's able to move outside the radius of the turn. Honestly, that's the magic on high-end skiing. If you want to run 38, 39, or maybe 41 off, you got to ride a ski that has the ability to slip a little bit at the finish of the turn, has that drift or slide to keep that rope tight. So that's really something that Will loves about this ski. And it has what I like to call the proven bobble point bevel. So pretty standard bevel size in the front, gets a little bit larger in the tail. Bob hand shaped this years ago when he started at HO. We've tried many things. We always come back to it. It just, when it's on edge, you know what it's going to do. It doesn't overreact. It doesn't bite. It moves through the turn and the tail washes. And that's kind of the magic. So if you take all that history we have and you put it into one, that's what the Mark II really is. It's that new shape profile in the back, that new rocker line, and that proven concave and bevel size. And essentially that's how you make one of the best performing skis in the world. So what we've done is we've redesigned the Omega Max. So we had an Omega Max last year. It was a great ski, but this is a totally new ski. It shares the name, but it's a wider version of that all new Omega I talked about, and we expanded the sizes. So now it's offered in 65, 66, 67, and 68. Syndicate construction. What that means is it has the lightweight foam core, all carbon layup, and yeah, you can rip this thing as hard as any of the other Syndicate skis. It is about 100 thou wider at the wide point than the traditional Omega. So it's 67 is gonna go from a little over 6.9 to about a little over 7.00. And what that does is the wider ski just gives you a little bit more stability when you jump on the front. It's a little more stable and roll, but all those design attributes we talked about still get this thing to rip turns, create space in the course. And I actually think the advantage of learning to ride this ski is you're gonna stay earlier than anything else because of that extra surface area, especially in the smaller sizes, 65 and 66. For all your hardcore tournament skiers, don't be afraid to take a 65 or 66 Omega Max to the limit, because I think there's a ton of horsepower in that ski. Why would you choose Omega Max over Omega? I mean, they're really built from the same DNA, so they have a lot of similarities, but the idea is you have more surface area because the ski is wider, but you don't actually have a longer ski. And so something I learned from Chris Parrish and Bob Lapointe, long ago is you need more surface area in your ski if you want to stay ahead of the course, if you want to be stable in the turns, you don't want to sink in a hole at the finish of the turn. But what we also learned is they don't actually need like a longer ski, because when skis start to go beyond 68 inches, 69, 70, 71, they still have to steer them around the same corner that we do on our 66-inch skis. So Omega Max is kind of a new concept for us in the industry, where you're increasing surface area, you're going to a wider footprint, but you're not actually extending the length beyond the normal ski length. And so if you're a bigger guy, it's a no-brainer. You're going to go on an Omega Max. Or you're a skier who just wants a more efficient ride, maybe is looking for a little bit more stability and roll, wants a ski to do even more work to create space, you definitely need to give an Omega Max a try. So kind of a new style or a new type of ski, where the Omega is a little bit more traditional, and I would say the Pro is like the classic, narrow, deep concave, kind of glued down ski to the water. Tail shape is a big factor of why the Pro and the Omega Max have different feels on the water. So the Pro has what we call a pintail design. Quite narrow, lets the ski tail drop down into the water, so it has a lot of secure hold. The Omega and the Omega Max have what we call a narrow round tail. So that's different than the original Omega. The old Omega had a wider tail. We did narrow the tail of this ski, more similar to what we've done on the Pro, but we've rounded it quite a bit more too. And when you have a narrow round tail, the water adheres to the tail shape a little bit more efficiently, and so the tail sits deep. The goal is to make it sit deep, but also through the shaping allow it to move when it's down in the water, so you get a nice finish to your turn. So the Omega has that. Although the Omega Max is a wider shape, it still has a narrow round. So it's a little wider than the Omega tail, but it's still, compared to the other parts of the ski, narrowing and rounded. And that's really important, because when you do have a ski that's wider, you don't necessarily need the tail and the tip to be extremely wide. You need those to kind of taper, be rounded, and kind of disappear, move out of the way so you can get the ski to rotate, even though it has a bigger footprint under the boots. So that's why we do the tail shapes unique on Omega Max in comparison to pintail you'd find on the Pro. Okay, one of the other major differences between the Pro and the all-new Omega Mark II and Omega Max Mark II is the rocker line. So the Pro has what we call continuous rocker line, meaning it does not have a flat spot up in the forebody. It is a low continuous, doesn't have a very high tail height, but it does have the ability to kind of feather fore and aft on the ski, and the skier can really control how the ski moves through the turn based on this continuous rocker line. The Omega and the Omega Max have what we call a 4-stage rocker line, meaning they have a true flat spot under the front foot. They also have a true flat spot in the tail section. Having a true flat spot on the front foot gives you a really stable platform to stand on. So as the skier moves forward, he can find that sweet spot, he can put his weight on it, and the ski's not going to overreact or do anything unusual. We do put more curvature under the back foot so that even though you have a flat spot in the rocker, you're still getting really good turns, because you need rocker to make a great turn. But in the tail section, we have a secondary flat spot for stability. So you can see flat spot under the foot, flat spot on the tail, and a kind of exaggerated rocker under the back foot for turning, whereas a Pro is more of a longer, continuous arc to the rocker. And that really gives the skis a different feel. So if you're a skier who likes to jump on the front, needs a ton of stability, maybe turns off the back foot a little bit more, the Omega is the way to go. If you're a skier who essentially kind of rides more in the middle of the ski, but wants an aggressive turn shape, then you go on the Pro. So different rocker lines for different types of skiers. And like I said, the Omega and the Omega Max share that similar double flat spot, 4-stage, flat in the tail, a lot of curve under the back foot, flat in the forebody, for that kind of modern, get in position and let the ski do the work feel that the skiers are looking for. One unique feature to the Omega Max is that it's built utilizing some new materials. So at HO, we're a really product-driven design company, and the future of product design is making more responsible products. That's important to us. I hope that's important to our consumers. And the Omega Max employs that technology. So two of the major updates to the Omega Max has to do with the construction in terms of the resin and the foam core that goes into the ski. Resin essentially is the thermoplastic material that holds the ski together, and that's always traditionally been made from petroleum products. This is called what we call a bioresin, and it's essentially part of this eco performance construction that we use. It's made from about 33% plant-based material, which is a product of when they create biodiesel. It's a natural glycerin, and it actually has a higher mechanical properties than our petroleum-based resins that most of the industry has been using for years. The other thing we do is we replace the foam core material. So it's still a lightweight foam core. It's actually a little bit higher density, but is recycled. So instead of being made from PVC foam, it's made from PET foam. And PET has a high mechanical property, but it is made from essentially like recycled plastics. So the resin and the foam core in this ski are, I wouldn't say perfect. They're not made, from like 100% plants, but they are a much more responsible product. The foam is 100% recycled, and 33% of the content that goes into the resin is from biomass material. So we are trying to improve the skis in terms of the responsibility by also improving them in terms of the performance. And I hope every year we can bring that to the new level. So that is the eco performance construction behind the Omega Max. Yeah, that's it. That's the overview of Omega. I went through the Omega Max as well because they really are built from the same DNA. And how do these two relate to the Pro? Well, they're skis that are made such that as a skier you get into position and the ski does the work for you. The Pro is narrower. It has a deeper concave, and so both those things make the ski sit deeper in the water, and so you can be more aggressive on it and you can attack, but it's going to require more physical effort. And I really believe the Omegas are the modern way of skiing, and this is a little bit more of a classic ski in terms of width profile and concave design. But if you're a classic skier and you lean hard and you rip turns and you want a lot of downforce and grip, the Pro is the way to go. And if you're a modern skier, kind of from the new school, and you want to get in position, let the ski do the work for you, let the boat do the work for you to put you in that place to make the turn, then the Omega and the Omega Max is the way to go. And that's why we make two high-end skis. So we're making sure that you have the tool you need to run the most buoys in the slalom course. So that's the Syndicate line for 2022.